I was maybe a freshman in college. I think I was 18 and I was waitressing, and I had a coworker. And when I told her that I was a Jewish believer in Jesus, she freaked out and saying, "You killed Christ. Your people killed Jesus. You have no place." It was very, very hurtful. But then they're doubly hurtful, right? When someone's saying to you, "Oh, you can't be Jewish and believe in Jesus."
Hey JFJ friends and family, welcome back to the channel where we explore unique perspectives and untold stories from around the world. Today we embark on a journey of understanding and discovery as we discuss what it's truly like to grow up as a Messianic Jew. I'm Jeff Morgan, and I'm here with Arielle Randle, the Communications Director for Jews for Jesus. Arielle grew up in New York and New Jersey and is a wife and mother of 3 beautiful children. Arielle and I will be sharing our personal experiences, challenges, and joys of living within the intersection of Judaism and Christianity. Arielle, thank you for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here with us to delve into this captivating and often misunderstood aspect of faith and identity.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. Looking forward to this conversation very much.
Yeah, me too. So just in case you haven't seen Arielle's last 2 episodes, go check them out on the channel. They're amazing, enlightening, and very intellectually stimulating. So to kick things off, could you tell us what it means to you personally to be a Messianic Jew, and what was it like growing up in this faith for you?
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about my background just to set the stage, right? So I'm from New York City. My parents are both from, the New York City area. My mom grew up in a Jewish family. My dad also grew up in a Jewish family. He's not Jewish, but was raised by, in a Jewish context. And both of my parents came to faith in Jesus as adults, but they wanted very much to continue, their life as Jews and their culture as Jews. And so they raised me and my siblings in a very Jewish home. But we knew that we believed in Jesus. But we worshipped in contexts like Messianic congregations, which are communities of Jewish people who believe in Jesus. Often in Messianic congregations, there's also Gentile people as well, who are really excited about, worshiping Jesus in a culturally authentic Jewish way. And the Messianic congregations there's a huge diversity, right? So right. I've been to congregations they're very similar to a church, but they're incorporating Jewish culture, and there's, a lot of Jewish people that attend, and, they're really embracing this idea of unity of Jewish and Gentile people worshiping together in unity. There's also Messianic congregations that are very similar to a synagogue, right? Like everything's in Hebrew, you're going through the Siddur. It's a synagogue, but what makes it distinct is that people attending believe in Jesus. In addition to a reading from the Torah portion, a reading from the Haftorah, there might also be a reading from the New Covenant, right? So there's some small distinctions, but by and large, it's extremely similar to a synagogue. So I attended a number of different congregations growing up. I've seen different styles, and I always felt very comfortable, as a Jewish person. Had met, with faith in Jesus. That was my culture. And I think the challenges often came in interacting actually with Christians, right? Because, then later, as a teenager, went to, visiting different youth groups, or, I went to a Christian school for some years, and that their culture did not feel like my culture, right? Even though we shared a faith in Jesus. And I think a lot of Jewish believers in Jesus feel that it's really hard. And I felt like this, right? It's really hard to be Jewish in Christian circles, and you just kind of feel like I these are great people. And God bless them, and they're wonderful, and we share a faith, but this isn't my culture. Like, this isn't even like, like when I go to a synagogue, and we're, and it's like praying in Hebrew. It's like, this is to me like praying in like a language of my heart, right? And I don't always feel that, in a church context. And so I think Jewish believers in Jesus struggle. I've struggled, like, where do I belong? Where do I fit? And it's not, and a lot of Jewish believers live in places maybe where they don't have a community, a local community where they are of Jewish people who believe in Jesus, who are gathering and expressing their faith in a culturally Jewish way. So I think that's one of the challenges, maybe even the core challenge of being a Jewish believer in Jesus, is having a foot, in the Jewish community and the Christian community, which can be both wonderful and can be hard and can be lonely.
Sure. I often use the symbolism of two worlds, the Jewish world and the Christian world, coming together in these two circles, and yet there's a little sliver in between both of them that incorporates Jewish believers in Jesus. And so, the two worlds, it's a bit difficult, but it can also be wonderful, because I've seen my Jewish identity grow tremendously since faith in Jesus. So I have now more connection to my Jewish community. And yet I have this vast array of Christian brothers and sisters that I love dearly, that I would have never known or met had it not been for the Christian community. And so, like you said, it is challenging and wonderful all at the same time. Do you have a specific memory that you might be able to share with us from your childhood that might stand out, which highlight the unique aspects of growing up as a Messianic Jew?
Well, while I think about that and think of a story that I can share, I did want to engage with a few of the things you said, Jeff, because that was really interesting. I think what you just touched on, what you said about that tiny sliver, in between the Christian and Jewish communities. And like we kind of touched on in our last episode, right? That sliver is not as tiny as people think, but actually, like, in those communities, there's a lot of Jewish believers in Jesus who haven't sort of connected with each other, right? So there's churches all over the world. In churches, there's Jewish people who believe in Jesus who are attending churches, and then in synagogues and Jewish communities around the world, there's Jewish people who believe in Jesus who are just continuing on in their cultural tradition. And so the more we can kind of gather, there's strength in numbers, right? And the more we can together and stand proud as Jewish believers in Jesus and public with our identity, then that's going to help people realize, like, oh, there's more of a intersection here than they ever considered before.
That's a great point, and something that I really didn't even consider. Who are the Jewish people out there that believe in Jesus that are that have not been vocal, that have not shared their faith, that have not said, "Hey, I'm actually Jewish and believe in Jesus," rather assimilated, and just within the Christian community, just living a normal, regular life.
Yeah, and that's one of the things at Jews for Jesus that is, what we do really is advocating and encouraging people. I mean, I've talked to so many people, right? And I'm sure you've met people like this too, Jeff. Like, you meet someone at a church and they're like, oh, my mom's Jewish, but I'm a Christian. I was raised Christian or something.
Right.
And no one's ever told them, like, you're Jewish, and if you want to be Jewish, there's room for you. Like, there's an inclusive tent of what it can mean to be Jewish, and you can explore that, and it's, you have permission to explore that. And in fact, our destiny as a people is to be a light to the nations. And so you haven't compromised what it means to be Jewish by being raised Christian. In fact, maybe God's placed you in a diverse community to fulfill that destiny of being a light around the world. That's what we're called to do, right? So I think that people need to hear that. There's lots of people out there that need to hear that there is that community of Jewish believers in Jesus, and there's room for you, if you're watching this, to explore what that could mean to you, whether you're exploring faith in Jesus, whether you're exploring your Jewish identity. You're welcome with us, right?
Love it.
The story that comes to mind, Jeff, I really would love to share like a happy story, and there's many, many happy stories of like, all the Hanukkah Gelt and all the Hamantashen and all the afikomen's, like there's so many positive memories. But I think the story that comes to mind that I want to share, just because I think this is meaningful maybe for me to share, is when I was in college. So maybe I was maybe a freshman in college. I think I was 18 and I was waitressing, and I had a coworker who was Catholic. And when I told her that I was a Jewish believer in Jesus, she freaked out and saying, "You killed Christ. Your people killed Jesus. You have no place as a believer in Jesus. You cannot, you're not a Christian. I reject that." And it was very, very hurtful. Obviously, to experience that, I would consider that, an experience of anti-Semitism. And I think that experiences like that are hurtful for sure. But then they're doubly hurtful, right? When someone's saying to you, "Oh, you can't be Jewish and believe in Jesus," and it's like, well, I want to go tell that person that I'm not Jewish because they feel like I'm not one of them, So it's like you feel like there's this rejection that you can experience on both sides,
right?
And that's hard. And I think that it's important for us as Jewish believers in Jesus to talk about these experiences, so that, first of all, so we know we're not alone, right? There's other people like us who've experienced this and we can stand together, but also to bring awareness that there's this group of people that do exist, but we're not being represented in Christian culture often, and in the Jewish community often, and we're not represented. So then people don't know we're here and we're here,
right?
And we matter,
right?
And representation is a really important part of that, I think.
Yeah, and I want to get into that a little bit more, actually. How that happens, how people can become a part of it, because when I was seeking, I went online. And I discovered websites like Jews for Jesus and other Messianic Jewish organizations. And the information that they had there encouraged me not only to follow Jesus, but also to proclaim it from a sense of confidence, knowing that it's backed up by Scripture, and that the community, as you said, is not as small as people actually think it is. And I think that's a huge point to make. And also, I think there's strength also in doing the hard thing. And I'll explain that in a second, because we want life to be easy. And a lot of people come from, before they come to faith in Jesus, kind of like a self-fulfilling, happiness-chasing mindset. I want to be liked and loved, and I want my community and my Instagram followers and my YouTube followers to love me and appreciate me. If I do this, it's going to be hard, and I might face rejection, and most likely will face some rejection. And I just want to encourage you that doing the hard thing, as God is holding your hand and walking with you and filling you with His Spirit, it's one of the most amazing encounters I've ever had, because I was a wimp. I mean, I'll be honest. I was a wimp growing up, hated confrontation, hated getting involved. If someone was upset with me, I would bend over backwards to make sure that they liked me again. And I would apologize, and I would make myself kind of like a doormat so that people would love me. And when I came to faith in Jesus, I realized people are not going to like me. And then I saw the words of Jesus. Remember, if they hate you, remember they hated me first. And, you will be persecuted in my name, or you will be, and I thought, wow, that is a huge challenge to take up as a believer in Jesus, going out into the world and proclaiming your faith as we're instructed to, because I want to be a faithful follower of Jesus. Going out and proclaiming it is one of those things. I remember before doing the ministry that I'm doing right now, saying, "Oh God, I just make sure you don't make me that guy that goes out on the streets and talks to people about Jesus." And lo and behold, that guy, and because I wanted
dangerous prayer.
I wanted to avoid the hardship.
Yeah.
But yet there's a strength, a confidence that has not come from me. I don't take credit for it. God has given me a strength and a confidence to have me go out and share about the sacrifice that he made in the most incredible act of love in human history. And so I just wanted to encourage people that although it can be hard sometimes, life is hard anyway. Either you're with God and it's hard, or you're without God and it's hard. Hey, choose God.
And yeah, I mean, I really resonate with everything that you shared, Jeff. Just to put a little bit of a maybe upbeat spin on it as well. Authenticity is magnetic, right? So I think that you never need to fear, authentically pursuing truth, authentically becoming the person God made you to be, right? Because, and when you step into that, people are going to be drawn to that.
Totally.
Because that's powerful. And so, yeah. And so I think that's also a way to look at, things are hard, but there's a power that can be drawn from stepping into hard things and from pursuing them with passion.
Right. I totally agree. And I just want to say that the walk with Yeshua, there's a purpose and there's a hope. So before Yeshua, I was hopeless. After Yeshua doesn't mean my life is easy, but there is this deep, man's search for meaning is just like this echoing theme in the course of human history. Man's search for meaning and purpose. And when God slaps a ton of, 2,000 pounds of purpose right in your lap, as you put your faith in him and his provision for forgiveness of sin, wow. I never wake up in the morning going, what am I going to do with my life? What am I doing with my life? I never have that thought anymore, when before it was like, I don't even want to be here anymore. I have no purpose here. And so I go through the hard times like you do. I go through the challenges and the struggles, and even Jesus says, you will have tribulation, but remember, I have conquered the world. I have, what's the word he uses?
Overcome.
Yes. I have overcome the world. And I put my trust in that, not in myself anymore. And he's shown up for me time and time again. So totally encouraging.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So Arielle Randle, thank you so much for being here to share your insights, which have given us a really valuable glimpse into a world that has been misunderstood for centuries. So I just want to say God bless you, and thank you for coming on to the program and doing what you do, and keep going, and may God bless you and your family.
Yeah, no, it's been a great dialogue. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thanks, Arielle. And that wraps up our enlightening conversation with Arielle Randle on the experiences and challenges of growing up as a Messianic Jew. I want to express my deep gratitude to Arielle for joining us today and sharing her personal journey with such openness and honesty. To our viewers, we encourage you to continue the conversation by sharing your thoughts and questions in the comments below, or contact us at jewsforjesus.org, where you can chat with us live and anonymously. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And let's remember that understanding our differences and celebrating our shared humanity can lead to a more inclusive and compassionate world. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions that aim to broaden our horizons and connect us through the power of shared stories and experiences. And may you all find peace, hope, and everlasting life in our Messiah, Yeshua.